Okay, good morning everyone. This is the Licensing Act panel of Gedling Borough Council. Before we move, the first item of the agenda is election of chair. So can we have a nomination for chair for the panel, please?
Can I nominate Marge Paling, please?
Have a seconder?
I'll second that.
So Councillor Paling is now elected as chair, so we'll hand over to her for the meeting.
Good morning, everybody. As Alex has just said, this is a virtual meeting of Gedling Borough Council's Licensing Committee, the Licensing Act panel. The audio of this meeting is being broadcast live. As that woman has just said, I don't know if that comes across on the actual recording. And it will be available on the website at a later date. Today we will determine the application to vary the existing club premises certificate dated 11th of January 2006 for the Gedling Club and Institute at 66 Main Road, Gedling. I am Councillor Marge Paling. I chair the Licensing Committee and have been elected chair of this particular panel meeting. I have with me Councillor Nikki Brooks. Say good morning, Nikki.
Good morning, everybody.
And Councillor Roxanne Ellis.
Good morning.
And we will be making the decisions today. Also with me, I have a clerk, Laura Chaplin.
Good morning.
Thank you, Laura. She is a legal executive here to advise me on, and all of us, in fact, on any of the legalities in case we start going wrong in this almost practice meeting. I do hope it goes fine. There's also Rachel Pentlow. Could you say good morning, Rachel?
Good morning, everybody.
She is the licensing officer who has been dealing with the case. And Alec Doubley, who opened the beginning of the meeting, is here as head of Democratic Services because he is facilitating the background electronics of the meeting. On to the meeting proper. We have read the bundle prepared by the clerk, which includes the application and the representation from interested parties. There have been no representations received from any responsible authorities. The police did say that they did not have any comment. The following procedure will be adopted at the hearing, and this is referred to on pages 112 of the bundle of papers. Now, can I ask that if we are not speaking, we mute ourselves, because rustling through those papers, if we're all doing it at the same time, will really block out any of us speaking. So,
sorry, Councillor Paling, can I just interrupt? For Lorraine on the phone, if you wanted to mute your microphone, you have to press *6 on your handset.
Sorry, just repeat that.
So if you wanted to mute Lorraine, you have to press *6.
All right, yeah. Okay, that's right. I've got mine on the laptop anyway.
Okay.
So,
oh, brilliant.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I did forget to invite the representations from interested parties to introduce themselves. So we have Lorraine Firth, who has just spoken. Good morning, Lorraine.
Good morning.
Here on behalf of the applicant, who is the applicant. And we have Anna Stapleton and James Stapleton as interested parties. Would you like to say hello, Anna?
Hi everybody.
And James?
Yes, good morning, James Stapleton, and me and Anna Stapleton live at 68 Main Road, next door to Gedling Club.
Thank you very much. I will ask the applicant, Lorraine, to present her case. Then there will be questions from the interested parties, the panel, and the clerk if she needs to ask any questions. I will then ask the interested parties to present their case, and again there will be a round of questions, and I will invite people to ask their questions one by one so that we don't get in too much of a muddle on this system. Everybody will be given the opportunity to present their case in full and uninterrupted. I would ask that when you are asked if you have any questions, you confirm yourself to seeking clarification about what has just been said, and save comments, observations until it's your turn to address us. I hope that makes sense to you, that we're trying to keep it very steady and not get sidetracked.
Sorry, can I just say something? I'm getting a lot of like talking in the background. I don't know if anyone else is.
Yeah.
And it's hard, Marjorie, because you're cutting out. I don't know where it's coming from, but it's quite distracting.
Okay, I'm going to move myself slightly closer to my microphone just in case it's that's not helping. Yeah,
Marge, sorry, Marge, if I could just say, if everybody can mute themselves, and that should cut out any background noise coming through. So if only the person that's speaking is has their audio on, that might help, because I too can hear. I was just typing the exact same because I could hear something. So hopefully if everybody mutes, then that will solve that problem.
Right. Thank you, everybody. It has gone a lot quieter. Once the questions have been asked in the round to the interested parties will be asked to sum up their case. The applicant will also be asked to sum up. And then we will retire, and where I'm a little bit unsure how that happens, how you get locked out and we stay locked in to the conversation to consider the evidence and make its decision. I have just realised I've missed out one of the representations from Councillor Jenny Hollingsworth. Are you still with us, Jenny? Would you like to say good morning?
Yes, good morning. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Good morning.
And as I said, we will retire to make our decision, and then we'll come back to announce the decision and give our reasons. And I need to add, before we begin, will you please note, we'll disregard any information given or evidence produced which isn't relevant to the application or the promotion of the licensing objects. And these are the prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, the prevention of public nuisance, and the protection of children from harm. My understanding is that you are talking about the prevention of public nuisance, but I would like to take this opportunity to confirm that we will only consider relevant representations, and to be relevant, they must be confined to the subject matter of the variation, which in this case is the extension of the outside area. Any alleged pre-existing issues that will not be affected by the variation are not relevant for the hearing. The correct forum regarding any alleged existing issues not concerning the variation should be dealt with by the way of a review. The live broadcast of this hearing is open to the public on the Council's website. A full note will be taken of what is said, including my blunders. I apologise. We will be applying the Borough's Statement of Licensing Policy and the guidance issued under the Licensing Act and the Human Rights Act in coming to our decision. Please bear with us, as this is the first time we've used the technology for a committee meeting. Thank you. So, back to the actual agenda proper. We do, I understand, need to check that there are no declarations of interest from the councillors. I declare there are none from me.
Marge.
Yes, Councillor Hollingsworth.
Just under that, and really to check with the your legal advisor. I have been a member of the club in the past. I am not currently a member and haven't been for 18 months, but just to make that clear.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Hollingsworth. As you are not making any decisions, I don't think it's relevant, and I think Laura is not nodding her head as the legal advisor.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
I just wanted to be clear that that was known at the start.
Thank you. So confirmation from Councillor Brooks and Councillor Ellis that you have no interest in personal interest.
Confirmed, I have no personal interest.
And neither do I.
Thank you. And before we actually move on, I need to verify the agree the meeting of the 20th of August 2019, which was the last meeting of the licensing panel. Councillor Ellis, can you confirm that they are a correct record of the last meeting as you were present?
I can confirm.
Thank you. We agree the minutes of the last meeting. Thank you very much. Right, I'm now going on to the consideration of the application as outlined at the beginning. So, I would like to invite the applicant, Lorraine Furr, to state her case, please.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the club decided about a year ago to make a small alteration to the back garden to make disabled access easier for some of the disabled customers that we have, and we also applied to have the smoking shelter moved. That application was approved, but the Licensing Act Rachel got in touch with us to say that we needed to amend the licence for drinks to be able to be consumed outside. Therefore, we put the application form in, and obviously we've had the opposition, which has led us to today's hearing. It's a very small area. We extended it by about 6 foot by about 12, so it's not a massive area. Part of the application that we had back from you guys was that for anybody to be able to drink outside, we would need to have the licensing increased. We did originally apply for a small variation, but when I had a call from the police, they did say that that would mean that we wouldn't be able to drink even a glass of water or a cup of tea outside. And they advised us to go for the full variation, which is what's led to today. The club is members only. We have currently 430 members on our membership book. 50% of those members are over the age of 60, which means they are of a certain age. We feel that the garden won't be used greatly, but obviously with the COVID-19 that's enforced, a beer garden would be a great help to the club if it was to be given a approval today. So that's really our application and the reasons for it. Don't really know what else to say other than that's the reason for the application. Hello.
Councillor Paling, sorry, you need to unmute yourself.
Yes, it takes 2 attempts, it seems. Thank you very much. I was asking if either of the councillors on the panel have any questions of Ms. Furr.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Ellis? No?
None so far, thank you.
Councillor Brooks?
Just the one. After, I think it's great that you're making the disabled access better. That's really good, particularly with given the demographic of your users. But after, as far as I'm aware, you've never had an outside seating area before, have you?
Yes, we had a smoking area, which had some, yeah, which had seats in.
That, but, sorry, I should have been clear. An outside drinking area, an area where you could sit and drink before.
No.
Okay, I just wondered why why you want to do that now. What after all those years? That was all.
Just because the area is bigger. A few members have requested it. We do have, as I say, 50% of the members are under the age of 60, and we do have a few people that have said that on an afternoon it would be nice when the weather's warm to be able to sit outside and have a drink.
And how many seats do you think that would be? How many people do you think would be able to accommodate?
We're looking at getting 2 tables with 4 seats on, so you're looking at 8 people.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nikki. Could I ask Anna Stapleton if you have any questions?
Sorry, let me just unmute myself. In the application, there is no indication that you will limit the number of people outside, and the words that have been used to us are it will be almost self-policing due to the area size. I also, if you were thinking about COVID, so basically, are you planning to limit it because that isn't stated in the licensing application variation?
The area is very small, so as I said, we are planning on getting 2 tables to see 8 people. So it's, with the COVID coming in, there's going to be social distancing that needs to be applied. The area was never going to be solely for drinking outside. It was just giving people the choice to be able to go outside if they wanted to go. Obviously, we wouldn't accept people standing. It's purely about, as I say, giving people the choice if they wanted to pop outside and have a drink in the warmer weather. As regarding self-policing, we do have CCTV outside, which we are going to get a monitor that will be viewed behind the bar. So if there was to be any people out there, then that would be how we would police it. We would ask people to come back inside if there needs be.
I've got another question. So also, you've just mentioned COVID. With my knowledge of the outside area, I think you will struggle to have 2 tables with 8 people. Could you give any indication of how many will be outside under the COVID regulations? Bearing in mind
I can't answer that question because obviously the government hasn't set any guidelines down with the pubs reopening yet. So whatever guidelines were set out by the government, we would have to comply with. So if that meant that we could only have 1 table outside, then we would block the other one off. Obviously, it is unprecedented times that we're in, and nobody can say for sure what the government guidelines will be. But they have indicated that people or licenses that have got outside areas will be considered to be open first. So that is the reason for me mentioning it.
Thank you.
Thank you. James Stapleton, have you any additional questions?
I was going to ask about the number of people anticipated in the area, but that's already been covered. I was just going to ask about the fire escape route for the people in the area, and how the club would see that working for a safe escape from people from that back area, because as I understand it, there's a fire escape route from the premises that leads into this external area, and then ultimately out onto Carnarvon Grove into a safe area. How does the club see the safe means of escape working, particularly with the mobility scooters, which the club will be having in that area as well?
Sorry, just before Lorraine, you start on that. That isn't really a relevant point for this hearing, because it's with regards to safety, fire safety. That's more of a planning issue. We're looking at the relevance to the extension of it and how that will affect the licensing objectives. So your crime and disorder, your public nuisance, etc. The fire exit and the health and safety element isn't something that would be considered in by the councillors in coming to their decision.
Okay, that's fine. I'll ask my next question then. So what consideration has the club given to the prevention of public nuisance to the neighbours in this application?
As I said, James, the amount of people out there will be limited. There's going to be a maximum of two tables, 8 people max. Again, I've mentioned we do have the CCTV, which we will monitor. It's like any outside activities. If the people become unruly, they will be asked to either leave the premises or they will be brought inside. as I say, we potentially are only looking at lunchtime people probably using it, but obviously we've asked for the extension on time just in case people of an evening would like to go outside with a drink. But we will monitor it, and as you know, the club is a members only. We know every single person that comes into the club, and if they are outside making noise or making disturbances, we would revoke their membership.
Okay, I've got no further questions at this stage. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Paling, you're on mute again.
Councillor Hollingsworth, do you have any extra questions?
No, not for me, thank you.
Thank you. So I will now move on to...
Sorry, Councillor Paling, I do apologise to interrupt. I just have a couple of questions, if that's okay, for the applicant.
Yes, okay.
Thank you. Just a couple of points, really, Lorraine. Firstly, you say that 2 tables, 4 seats, 8 people. What about the smoking shelter? How many does that sort of hold as such?
To be quite honest, it's been put up. We are going to put some seats round, and again, the amount of smokers that we have out at any time is probably a maximum of 4, 5. It just depends. The thing is with the club is we do hold bingo nights and card nights, so it's kind of people go out the ciggies at the same time because of the intervals. But the smokers are not going to change from what we used to go out there originally in the area that we had before. Okay,
so with the people, say if there was some sitting, maximum of 8 sitting, and then 4 or 5, that's kind of the maximum numbers that you'd be looking at outside at any one time.
Yeah.
Okay. And secondly, with regards to trying to reduce any public nuisance, you made reference in the application to some conditions. Do you want to just explain to the councillors what conditions you would look at potentially putting on to kind of reduce any concerns that they may have with public nuisance?
Again, it's about us monitoring the situation outside, and we are members only, so anybody that is unruly would, be warned, and eventually we would revoke their membership. We did put on there that we're quite happy to close the area off at 10 p.m.
Sorry, I do apologise to interrupt you there, but just with regards to that point, your opening hours are until midnight, is that correct?
Yeah, but we only serve till 11. We don't serve past 11 o'clock, so the club is vacated by 11:30.
And if you close the outside area completely from 10 o'clock, obviously some may still want to have a cigarette. So where would they likely end up having their cigarette?
They would have to go to the shelter. We put on there except for the access of the for the smoking.
Right.
So obviously after 10 o'clock, we would still need the smoking area to be accessible.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Sorry, Marge, I have got a question.
Okay, Councillor.
Okay. Is there anything in the regulations or the licensing here that prevents people sitting at the tables and smoking, or do they have to go into the shelter to smoke?
Sorry, Councillor Hollingsworth, could you just clarify whether that's a question to the applicant, as in, or whether you're saying legally?
I want to know whether it's a condition that people actually smoke in the shelter.
Oh.
And would they be able to sit at the tables and smoke? And it's to whoever it's relevant for, really.
I think perhaps if I can answer it. That hasn't been a suggested condition at this stage. However, if that is something that, as an interested party, you would like the applicant to consider, and indeed the councillors consider. Perhaps, Lorraine, if you have any comment about whether that would be something you would be open-minded to, and obviously the councillors can then take it into consideration when deliberating.
I mean, from my point of view, it would be hard to monitor. Once you're in an outside area, there's no, as far as I know, there's no reason you wouldn't be able to smoke, and that's the whole point of smoking outside. I couldn't say for definite that I could enforce that. If you've got people outside, then I would imagine they've always smoked outside that area before we've had the smoking shelter at the corner. I would assume that once you're in an outside area, then you would be able to smoke. But it's something that I could ask and noted to people to be wary of people around them that don't smoke. But again, that would be down to the individual once they're outside. I don't know how I could enforce that once you're outside in the open.
Yeah, I think that is probably quite a valid point in so much as you could potentially put signage up, but it would be extremely difficult to enforce because legally there isn't any issue with being able to smoke outside. So I think it would probably be extremely difficult to monitor.
Thank you for that. Although we've been discussing what might happen between 10 and 11, I'm quite concerned myself, so I'm going to ask my own question. Would you be prepared to negotiate an earlier close down of the outside area to 9:30? It is already dark by 9:30, even in the summer, and it would seem to me that would be an appropriate time for people to have to come in at dusk.
I'd be happy to alter the time if need be from 10 to an earlier time. As I say, once the nights start drawing back in, people will tend to come in. They don't sit when it's dark outside. So yes, I'd be happy to adjust the time to 9:30.
Thank you. Okay, so I'll just check if anybody would like to pipe up that they've thought of another question before we move on. No? Okay. So
Sorry,
now,
Marge. Yes, I have. Sorry.
yes, okay, Councillor.
Sorry, I took me a while to unmute myself. Sorry.
That's okay.
All it was just for clarification for my own mind. So currently people can go outside to smoke, but they can't have a drink outside.
Correct.
So I'm just thinking of how you manage this, because so whenever the time is, if it's whatever, 9, 10, whatever, they can then only go outside to smoke. I guess it's I'm just thinking how you're going to make sure people understand that, and that they can't just carry on and go outside with a drink when they go out for a cigarette.
Councillor Paling, can I just jump in there? It's Rachel, licensing
Yes,
officer. I think previously there were no restrictions on having a drink outside. I think the difficulty for the club was it was quite a narrow area, so nobody was really that much inclined to take the drink out. But it wasn't actually, it is something that's always been allowed. I think the difference here is the outside area is extended somewhat, which means it might encourage the drinking outside more. I think that's the difference between the two areas as it was and as they're proposing it's going to be. So they are allowed to drink outside now. I just don't think it was something that was taken up that much as far as I'm aware.
No, because as you say, Rachel, the area was that small. It wasn't so, and there was a roof on the top of it. It's not something that you would have done. You wouldn't have sat outside. It would, if you know, I personally don't smoke, so if I wanted to take a drink out there, it would have been like sitting in a smoking caravan. So no, it didn't appeal to people, but the tables is obviously appealing to people that just want to go out for some fresh air.
And I think that's the issue here. It's the change of the dynamics of the outside area that obviously maybe if the panel are minded to merit some conditions.
Thank you.
I think that is looking at how we could police it. And I wonder if you can start giving some thinking as to how we can police the fact that after the period of time when people are allowed to sit outside, that there is a difference, that they are not allowed to take their drinks out when they go for a quick smoke. So I might come back to thinking about how we might conduct that. And if Lorraine, you could think about how you might police it, should we do that, I will begin to move on.
Councillor Paley, can I just add two points to that? On the application, the applicant has said that signage would be put up, so that's certainly a consideration as to how to police it. And also she's mentioned about the CCTV, that obviously if they get a monitor installed behind the bar, that is something that they could look at. But finally, it looks like, and I know you won't be able to see this, Councillor Paling, and that's why I'm just saying that James Stapleton has raised his hand, so it looks like he may have another question. Just
But thank you for that, because I can't see raised hands on this gadget. Thank you. James, you have another question.
Well, it was you've just started to touch on it, really. Lorraine said it's difficult to enforce, and I just wondered if that CCTV that you've spoken about would have sound as well as pictures, and if it is sound, then how can you hear the sound over the general noise within Gedling Club?
The noise outside you can hear inside the club, James. I think we've only ever had one occasion where we had somebody in that we had to go and ask to leave the club. So if it was that noisy, we would hear. If it's just people having conversations, then obviously we won't be able to hear that, and hopefully you wouldn't be able to hear that. But if it became noisy and unruly out there, as people going inside to go for ciggies, then we would hear that. We have a committee in most nights in the club, so there's nothing to say you can't pop your head out every now and again, or the bar staff to pop out just to make sure that everything is calm. There'd be no point in having sound in the club, because you wouldn't be able to hear the monitor whilst you're serving. So that we wouldn't be able to do that. But obviously we have got pictures, and a picture can say 1,000 words. If you've got people out there being unruly, then they would be brought in with immediate effect.
Thank you. Can I now ask, Lorraine, that you would be willing to accept it as a formal condition that you have that camera installed?
The camera's already installed. It's the monitor that we are in the process of getting. We've just changed security companies, and that's part of the package that is going to put the monitor behind the bar for the because at the moment we've only got 6 screens that we can see. We can see the front door, we can see the entry onto Carnarvon, and we can see behind the bar, the main room and the front room. So at the moment they are all we have the picturage for, but we have got a facility to open that one up, so it can be viewed as a single screen.
Okay, so you're happy to accept that if we make that a formal condition?
Yes.
That is in operation. Thank you very much. Right, so I think I now can move on to check that I have all the points that parties might want to make. So I'm going to make a start with you, Anna. Would you like to make your case, please?
Okay, can everybody hear me okay? I'm just getting some background noise again, I'm afraid. So it's, I don't know if somebody needs to mute themselves again. Can everyone hear me all right? Do you want to wave? So I know it's a bit on this end.
Everything's muted here.
Great. Okay, so really, I think you've kind of touched on some of our concerns, that we already deal with a significant level of public nuisance from the club, and we accept that we've lived next door to a members only club, and we understand that. Our concern is that the licensing variation makes it disproportionate, that our individual rights are going to be further impacted and are not being protected. So we already deal with a significant level of noise. As much as Lorraine has said that we don't hear general conversations, we do. we can hear every single thing that happens in that outside area. And we have great concerns that the number of people is going to be increased from 4 to 15, which in a concrete enclosed area creates a significant level of echoey noise all across our garden and into our house, including, unfortunately, at times, swearing, shouting, raised voices, and that's when the club is in operation, let alone when people are entering and leaving. And our concern is that this is not a necessary variation. The club has operated very successfully for probably nearly 100 years without an outside beer garden or drinking area. We were understanding of the regulations regarding smoking, and worked with the club to allow that. We put up with that level of noise from that. We also have always endeavoured that people leaving the club, we know that the club encourage people to be quiet. We know that they've, at times when we've spoken to them about taxi noise, they have spoken to the taxi companies who beep outside our house. Our concern is this is significantly changing the dynamic of the use of the area, the dynamic of the club, and therefore it's really impacting on our rights to enjoy our property. 10 p.m. I think is far too late. We have young children who can hear what's happening in the outside beer garden. So as much as Lorraine is very kindly saying that she'll police that, she cannot police that level of noise. And because it is, obviously you can't really see from the plans, but it is surrounded by buildings, it is a concrete area, so it creates a lot of noise deflection, and we are in consultation with environmental health anyway about monitoring the noise that is already produced. So our concern is that, we're already experiencing difficulties. This is going to make it, potentially triple the amount of noise, which is very upsetting to us. It worries me that Lorraine is saying that she can't enforce many things, that it can be monitored slightly, but the fundamental thing is that the club, there isn't a precedent for this. We didn't choose to live next to a door to a pub or a club with a beer garden. So we feel this is a significant change in their remit. We chose to live next door to a members only club without an outdoor area. So the extension, I think it's very admirable that they're improving disabled access, and it's something that myself and my husband have supported. We think that's really important. It worries me that it's now being used to change the essence of the club, and that the outdoor beer area is going to be used for drinking. I think 10 o'clock is too late, and we have some concerns that some of the existing conditions aren't being met, and I know that might not be a remit for today, but potentially doors and windows are not shut when live music is on, and we can hear that and we tolerate that because we appreciate the impact the club has on the community, but we just feel this is a step too far, and that we feel that this is just taking advantage of it now, and that is why we are objecting to the variation. Thank you. I can't hear you, Marjorie. I think you're muted, Marge. I think you're muted again.
Thank you very much for that. Lorraine, do you want to comment on that? Make any response?
Yeah, I mean, again, all I can say is we've got a larger area. It's 2 tables that we're planning on putting in. With regards to the noise levels, we don't have any windows in the club apart from the snooker room, so we don't have any windows open. Gardens, whether it's a public garden like the club's going to have, or it's just a standard back door garden, I hear my neighbours from 5 doors down swearing. I have to, they smoke marijuana, and that comes across the garden. People have outside living. As a club, all we can do is monitor that. You're always going to get outside noise. We will do the best to limit that. And as I've said, anybody that is causing a nuisance, as a club, we're not a pub. We don't have people just coming in off the street and randomly sitting down. They are all members, and we have actually got the facility to revoke that membership should anybody be a nuisance. So as I say, if the area was 10 times as big as what we have actually got, then yes, I would seriously think that there would be a considerable amount of noise. But we're talking about 2 tables with people and giving them the choice to go out. I don't know who's going to use the outside area. As I say, most of the members that go in are over 60. They don't like the cold, so we may have 2 people out there. We may have none until the garden's been, you know, given out to the members. I can't say for sure who's going to use it and when they're going to use it. The members come to the club, as you know, we have games nights on Fridays and Sundays and Tuesdays, and we have an artist on a Saturday night. So 90% of the time the members are inside anyway, because they, you know, you're not going to be able to play cards and bingo outside. We're not having any activities outside. It's purely going to be there for you to be able to go outside and enjoy a bit of sunshine and have a drink. It's again about giving the members a choice. So until I know who's going to go out there, it's hard to say how much noise is going to be increased. You're always going to have the same amount of smokers, whether we have a beer garden or not. Those people will still go outside. And we have moved the shelter away from the outside door to the top corner in the extended area to hopefully reduce that noise for you. That was part of the consideration when we went for the new smoking shelter and the disabled access.
Can I just say something that I think it needs acknowledging that the level of noise generated from a commercial property is very different to neighbours, and that shouldn't, I don't feel that is within the remit of the licensing panel to say that it will be, you know, we should just put up with it just because some people have awful neighbours. It sounds an awful situation, Lorraine, and I feel sorry for you if that's what's happening. My concern is that because of the increased usage, we will therefore hear more of the internal noise of the club, because the area will be accessed from a door that comes in and out of the club. And when that door opens, we can hear the door bang every single time, you know, and we will hear more noise leakage, which is already an issue in and out of the club because of the increased use of the area. So, you know, that is also a concern, that it's not just the people in the area, it's the coming in and out of the main club. You know, we can currently hear every bingo number being called. We can hear. But
that's nothing to do with the outside area. You listen to the bingo numbers being called.
Lorraine, can you let me speak, please?
Okay.
Yes, but we can hear it when the door opens. So what I'm saying, Lorraine, is if there's more people using the area, the door will be opening and shutting more, and therefore our noise will increase.
But when bingo is being played, nobody goes outside. That's what I'm saying.
When the live act is on, the door will open and shut more, and people do not wait.
Again, that's not relevant to the outside area. You know,
it creates further noise leakage.
Can I say that? Okay, you have made your point, Anna, and that can be borne in mind, but it may well be more of a point for any later problems that arise if we do agree the application today. James, do you have any other questions? And do you want to make any other points that Anna hasn't already made?
Anna's confirmed our thoughts and our concerns. I just wanted to pick up on a couple of and just add on what Anna's talked about. So yes, I would please, Councillor Keeling. Our approach is that we are reasonable neighbours. We've lived next door to Gedling Club very happily for 17 years. We put up with a lot. We do put up with a lot of existing noise. We feel that turning this area, this larger area, into an area where people can drink alcohol throughout the day until late at night, we don't think that's reasonable. We don't think it's proportionate, and we don't think it's in keeping with what is a purely residential area, because that's what Carnarvon Grove is, and that's what Main Road is as well. It's a purely residential area. We have been in touch with Environmental Health Department about the level of public nuisance that we are already experiencing without this area being used. We've We've been asked to make diary records. We've done that. We've provided that to Anthony Oseland, who's the Environmental Health Officer from Gedling Borough Council. Anthony has read the reports and is advised us that noise monitoring will be needed when Gedling Club reopens, because we are already experiencing a public nuisance, a significant public nuisance. I don't think it's proportionate or reasonable to expect to put up with levels of swearing, high levels of noise for our 2 children in our garden, which is directly next door to this area, and we're having to put up with that already before this additional area is put into place.
Thank you.
Now, Lorraine, I haven't finished yet, Councillor Palin, thank you. So we've already spoken about the difficulty of enforcing the conditions. We just think it's going to be really difficult for the Gedling Club to keep hold of that. If people want external drinking areas in Gedling, there are already 3 pubs already in Gedling within a 10-minute walk. All of those premises have allocated areas to drink outside well away from neighbouring properties, at least 10-15 metres away. This isn't the same. We are literally 4 metres away from Gedling Club and the area where they want to have external drinking, and we just don't think it's reasonable. We don't think it's proportionate, and that's why we object very strongly to this licence variation application.
Thank you. Does anyone want to come in? Lorraine, I'm going to ask you if you want to ask about any of the comments. We're not discussing the current discussions that you're having with environmental health. So would you like to make a comment, Lorraine?
Okay, thank you. I mean, James, the Gedling Inn is about a minute and a half away from your property. It's not 10 minutes away, it's about a minute and a half. I go on a Saturday night to the Gedling Inn and I walk to the club about 9 o'clock when the artist comes on. And it's not until you get to the edge of Carnarvon that you can actually not hear the actual Gedling Inn. They have their own noise levels. They have a house next door to it, so there's, they also have residents around them. They've got houses across the road on Main Road, Gedling. This is about giving the members an opportunity to drink outside and a choice to drink. They choose to come to the Gedling Club because it's a members only club and they feel comfortable. We have members that are widows that walk through that door on their own and they feel comfortable to sit with people that they know, friends and that they've made over the years. If you're walking into just a normal pub like the Gedling Inn or the Willowbrook, it's a different environment. So this is about our members that we've had, some of them for 40, 50 years. The club, as you said, has been around actually 200 years. I can only say this is about our members, and again, we have the options to say that anybody that is noisy and unruly, we can revoke and ask them not to come back. It's not like the Willowbrook or the Gedling Inn that just has anybody walking in off the streets. So that's all I can say with the comparison that you're giving from the Gedling Club. As you say, you have lived there 17 years. As far as I know, I think your granddad lived there before. So it's, again, you know how the club runs. It hasn't changed. It's called the Gedling Old Boys, and it's called that for a reason. And that's because the majority of our members are elderly. And, for you to say they sit and swear, I find I don't listen to them because I don't go outside. But as I say, when environment gets in touch with us regarding the noise, that's another conversation and another meeting that I'll have to attend and trying to adjust with the members on their findings. Me personally, I don't think the noise level's that high. I'm in the club on a Tuesday night, Friday night and a Sunday night. And if the noise levels was high, then I would definitely deal with it. We have committee members in there. Alan, yourself, he's a regular visitor to the club. And again, he wouldn't tolerate the noise levels that you're saying that we do. With regards to taxis, I sit there at 11 o'clock and I hear most members' mobiles ringing to tell them that the taxi's outside. They don't sit out there beeping. Most callbacks now are from taxi firms to let you know that your taxi's outside. But again, if that's a conversation that I have with the Environment for Noise, then that is something that I'll deal with at a later date once the club's reopened.
Yeah, sorry, just
I didn't say that actually, Lorraine. I was saying that you'd sort of
Hang on,
sorry.
hang on a minute, Anna. I'm being nice. Laura.
Sorry, Councillor Paling, I just wanted to obviously, Lorraine, you're responding to a couple of issues there that aren't necessarily of relevance for this particular hearing. Obviously, there is an investigation ongoing with regards to environmental health, but there's been no findings yet. They're looking at installing sound equipment, which they would do in any noise complaint. And obviously, if that becomes an issue, that will be a separate course of action, as you rightly say. But if we can try and just keep on the relevance for this, if you have any specific questions for James, and if not, then perhaps we could move on to Councillor Hollingsworth.
Councillor Hollingsworth, do you have any additional points that you'd like to bring forward? Thank you.
Well, just to say that credit to the club, and from my personal experience, the club do their best and are well run, and the committee are very committed to what they do. My concern is that people who smoke have to go outside and they choose a time to go outside. If they don't have to choose a time to go outside, they will spend more time outside and more time smoking because they don't have to make that extra effort. You've got the potential for 2 tables of 4, 8 people, plus people in the shelter who may well be smoking. So that's a potential for increased smoke, which, because it's an enclosed area, is bound to go somewhere. And there are children, I understand, next door with the potential for second-hand smoke being inhaled by them. Even if there's not noise because people are shouting or they're rowdy, the fact that there is an increased number of people outside cannot fail to generate extra noise. That they are my concerns, that there is the potential for this nuisance of smoke and extra noise.
Thank you. I'm going to ask if everyone is happy that they have had all of the points in there either answered, or that if they have any other questions about the point, would they like to tell me? Lorraine?
Yeah. No.
Sorry, was that it? I've got nothing further to say. Thank you. Hello.
Hello. Thank you. Is that Lorraine?
Yeah, thank you. I've got nothing else to add. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Councillor Ellis?
Nothing more to add, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Brooks?
Nothing more to add, thank you.
Thank you. And Laura Chaplin?
I'm just looking. I'm not sure whether James was wanting to say something. I've got nothing, no more questions at this stage. Obviously, the Mr. and Mrs. Stapleton and Councillor Hollingsworth can sum up, or if they feel that they've already given their points, that's fine. And then obviously Lorraine will be given a final opportunity just to sum up her application before we then go on to retire as such.
Thank you very much. So I will ask, as you had indicated, Anna, I think while Lorraine was speaking, I will ask you if there's anything else you'd like to say to sum up, and then I will ask James and then Jenny. Just to sum up anything that you think we might not be quite clear on. Thank you.
I think just to make it clear that we weren't the only residents that were concerned, and there were other residents that put forward objections. Obviously, they chose not to attend the hearing today, but they're written. Things are in the pack, and also that the timing of the application at the start of lockdown, we believe, kind of didn't support other people having the opportunity to put it forward. But just to make it clear, we're not the only residents that were concerned. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. James, do you have any other points to make?
Anna's just raised the point about there have been other objections as well. There are other families with young children on the street. One of them does overlook Gedling Club, so it's not just us on the Grove. So that point's been made. And just as a summary, we just don't think this is reasonable, and we don't think it's considerate to what is a purely residential area to be having this new. It is a significant change. It's a huge change that Gedling Club are proposing. Steps away from what they've been doing for well over 100 years, and that change will impact on us.
Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Hollingsworth. Jenny, do you have anything extra to add in summary? No, I'm going to assume not. And I would just check if anyone else has any questions that they might have not heard as a result of that summary before I ask Lorraine to sum up. Okay, I'm taking the silence. Everybody is happy that we move on for Anna to sum up why she would like this application to go through. Thank you. Not Anna, I'm sorry, Lorraine.
That's okay.
Get someone's name wrong eventually. Thank you.
That's okay. Really, it's just about, as I say, having two tables and giving the members the choice to be able to drink outside. You know, I can only say that we will monitor it. Any noise levels will be brought as low as possible. We will deal with anybody that is breaking the rules of the volume. We will put signs up. We'll have the CCTV. The area is there. It's been approved. We've got the seating approved by previous application in the smoking area. This is all about whether or not our members can actually take a drink, whether that be alcoholic or water or tea or coffee outside. So that is the reason for the application. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, one more quick check before I think Alec is going to put you back in a room, exclude you all for a few minutes. We will try to make our decision as quickly as possible so that we don't keep you much longer. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. So sorry, Councillor Penning. So what I'll have to do is exclude Councillor Hollingsworth, James, Anna, and Lorraine, and then what I'll do is I'll give you all a quick ring when we're ready, and then if you ring back in or dial back in, and then we'll be able to talk to you then. All right. So thank you, and I'm going to switch the recording off now.
Thank you.
Sorry, can I just check it with the same link to your email? Is that?
Yeah, that will be fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. Thank you. I don't know if we're here that we've just been advised that the meeting is now being recorded again, but it is. We have made a decision, and because it is quite a long, complicated decision notice, and I'm not sitting next to Laura, I'm going to ask Laura to read it out for us and then come back to you if there are any questions about it, because it's quite a long notice. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you, Councillor Paling, and apologies if my audio goes, please let me know. So this is a notice decision. The panel has considered an application to vary the club premises licence granted to the Gedling Club and Institute on the 11th of January 2006. The panel has heard evidence from Lorraine Furr, the applicant, Mr James and Mrs Landa Stapleton, the objectors, and Councillor Hollingsworth. Decision. In making its decision, the panel has had regard to the Gedling Borough Council licensing policy, the guidance issued under Section 182 of the Licensing Act 2003 and the Human Rights Act 1998, and has carefully considered all the evidence presented to it. The panel has also considered the written representations made by Dominic Bath and Joanne Harwood and Mr and Mrs T Hallam. The panel has made this decision to promote the 4 licensing objectives: prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, prevention of public nuisance, and protection of children from harm. The panel has resolved to grant the application for the variation of the licence and to amend the plan attached to the club certificate to extend the boundary of the premises, being the external area, as per the plan attached to the application, subject to the following conditions being added to the operating schedule. Number 1, the external area of the premise shall not be used for the provision of licensable activities or for the consumption of food or beverages after 2100 hours. Number 2, notices to be displayed in the internal and external area detailing the above. Number 3, notices to be displayed in the external area advising members to have respect for the residents and keep noise to a minimum when in the outside area. And number 4, that CCTV is installed covering the external area that is fit for purpose and can be monitored from within the club. Having considered all of the evidence before it, the panel have found it helpful to understand how the external area was before and how, with the extension, has improved access and egress for those members with mobility issues, along with the details of the smoking shelter as it was and how it is now. The panel also found it helpful to understand the history of the club, having been a part of the landscape of Gedling for many years, along with the members it attracts. They also found it helpful to understand the location of the objectors' properties in reference to the club. The panel also noted that the club is in a predominantly residential area, but only 3 properties raised any representations. The panel have considered the objector's right to a private life and balanced this with the applicant's right to a licence and to be able to continue to run the club for the benefit of the current and future members. The panel also understand that at present there is no restriction on numbers or times of members being allowed in the outside area, and there is no restriction on drinking outside the premises. The panel heard from the objectors and considered the relevant written representations regarding the concerns over an increase in public nuisance, namely people staying in the external area for longer, leading to an increase in noise and smoke, and the potential impact this may have on neighbouring residents' enjoyment of their premises. The panel found sympathy with the objectors. However, they were not persuaded by the evidence heard that there would be a significant increase in public nuisance if they were to allow the variation. Members heard from the applicant that this is a members-only club and policing membership and controlling any nuisance behaviour is easier on this basis. Members appreciate that the increase in open space means 2 tables, 8 chairs and around 4 people in the smoking area will increase the potential number of people encouraged outside. However, members feel conditions limiting the hours that customers can drink outside will mitigate any potential nuisance. Objectors are reminded that the licence is able to be reviewed if the conditions proposed do not mitigate the impact on public nuisance. The panel has concluded that any potential for increase in public nuisance due to the extension of the external area can be mitigated by the imposition of the conditions proposed. As such, they have resolved to grant the variation of the club premise licence with additional conditions. Now, that is the decision notice that will be provided in due course, and attached to that will be guidance notes on appealing that decision for anybody to consider, as there is a right of appeal against the decision. Thank you. Councillor Paling, I think you're still muted.
I keep clicking the wrong little button. I don't know why. Thank you very much, Laura. I think that concludes the meeting, unless anyone just wants to check anything that Laura has said before we close. Thank you.
Can I just check about the CCTV? Will that need to be in place before they start using the area?
Laura, I think it would. That's my expectation. Would that legality need to be there? Thank you. You're muted now, Laura.
Sorry, Councillor Paling, indeed. If it is a condition upon the licence that it is to be installed, then it needs to be installed. It's a condition. The licence, that variation has been granted from today, with that condition from today. So the requirement for it to be there starts from today in order for the outside area to be used in the manner required. Does that clarify it, Lorraine?
Yeah, I can confirm that it's due to go in within the next 1 to 2 weeks, and the club's not open yet, obviously due to the COVID virus anyway. So it will be installed before the club reopens.
Thank you, Lorraine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any other comment? No. Thank you ever so much, people, for your patience with me. I do hope you're happy that we've given it a good hearing. And that you know what can happen now in terms of moving forward. Hopefully COVID will allow you to move forward fairly soon, Lorraine, so that you can get back into business. And just thank you again, everybody. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.